Man, this cast is just always on an 11, aren't they? It's hard to keep up with them because of all of the gaming they do all the time, all of the spiraling they do all the time. Most of their gaming and spiraling makes them have constant bad gameplay. And then you add the feed cuts a lot and you're trying to follow the game. It's been a pretty hard 24 hours to follow the game, in my opinion. There's so much going on all the time. But I'm going to talk about what I see, my opinions on the game per usual, stir up some controversy in the comments like I always do. And yeah, let's get to it. Jared and Cirie had a conversation last night. It was a very small conversation about the possibility of voting out Izzy because she does know their secret. I thought this was always going to be the case this week with Izzy on the block, that they would at least discuss this possibility. I saw people asking online if this was actually best for Jared's game, and I feel like there were pros and cons to Jared's game if he actually wanted this idea to go through. He's been talking about voting out Izzy for weeks now, off and on. I think she can drive him crazy sometimes. I do think that voting out Izzy for Jared's game would be... There's pros and cons to both. Although the pros were kind of ruined last night, so at this point, I don't really think that he should vote out Izzy anymore. But before America tried to throw Jared under the bus to Cam, there was that possibility of Jared being able to keep the wool over Cam's eyes to keep Cam as an ally going forward, even if it was a fake ally in Jared's eyes. But I don't know if the pros outweighs the con of losing Izzy, who is a future shield for Cirie and Jared, most likely. So that conversation was short anyway. I don't think Cirie wants any part of voting out Izzy, especially this early in the game anyway. I really do think that Izzy is Cirie's closest ally in Cirie's eyes, other than Jared. In reality, I think Izzy is Cirie's best ally. Cirie has a lot of allies, of course, a lot of relationships in this house. I do feel like she kind of doesn't see Matt as a close enough ally as she should. We talk about Matt's game being kind of underrated in that he has this potential to go very deep into this game. But there's still this situation where I feel like Cirie values even Corey above Matt, and that can hurt Cirie in the long run if that is going to be the case, because Corey's been slowly waking up this week to maybe changing his game a little bit. But it was America last night who gave Jag information on some of the info that Corey gave her about Jared. America's been trying to rally the votes to get out Izzy this week and try and blindside Cirie and Jared. She's also been trying to rally her original alliance-ish with Matt and Jag and Blue and Cameron and Corey. Like I talked about yesterday, America refuses to pivot her game and been trying to work with the same people this whole time, even though most of them have too much distrust in each other for that to actually work. Now, I did like her throwing Jared under the bus to Cam and finally getting through Cameron's ego that he thinks he knows everything and make Cam realize that Jared has been working to get Cam out as well, since Cam's been trusting Jared so much this week. So that was a good thing by America for once. However, America putting all of this trust and all of this energy into the one person that can't win HOH next week, I still think there's a lot of negatives to that this is where America's game is at. It's pretty dire that she has to try and rally Bowie Jane and Cameron, who can't win HOH next week. It's just not looking so hot for America. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that these first 5 weeks in the game, America's social game has been so bad, and she has not made any sort of real relationships with almost anyone outside of Corey. And so this did light a fire under Cam to kind of agree with America's, possible alliance to fall back onto. But with Matt being in there, it's already not going to work out because Matt is Team Cirie so hard right now. And Jag went and told Jared that America was trying to rally a counter alliance to Cirie and Jared and them. So, we've all given Jag a lot of flack, and rightfully so, because even before Jag was voted out, he was playing piss poorly, and that's why he was voted out unanimously, and talking too much and always relying on the same kind of concepts in the game that wasn't working for him. He kept trying to do the same things over and over, and even coming back to this house being so paranoid. I mean, I can't blame him on the paranoia after being voted out 10-0. So I could see why he was spiraling when he came back, but he was already in a bad position. He was already playing so poorly, and he continues to get slack for playing so poorly. But at the same time, it's hard for me to, sit here and say Jag should want to work for these people that he tried to work with in week one, especially Cameron. Why would Jag want to work with Cameron? Cameron's the person that threw their original alliance under the bus in the first place. And I think that some of these players, like America, can't see the consequences of their actions already in this game coming back to haunt them. Like, it's going to be really hard for Jag to work with Cameron, who is also trying to get him out. So Jag's just been a really tough spot. He's never been good at this game in the first place. And, after returning, it's easy to see why he is still struggling at this game, because everybody lies to him, and he knows some of the people that have told him the biggest lies and have pulled some of the biggest, I guess the biggest rugs from under him are kind of Cameron and Cirie. And so, and that's kind of the sides that are building right now, and I don't think Jag wants to be on either one, even though there really isn't any sides. Cam's been also, trying to rally those troops like I talked about this possible alliance with America, Corey, Bowie, Matt, and maybe even Jag. But Corey's not on board with this. The role's kind of reversed. I've talked about how earlier this week the conversations between Cameron and Corey were some of the most awkward, and that was thanks to Cameron not trusting Corey. And then today, when Cameron's trying to recruit Corey, Corey's not trusting Cameron this time, and so it's awkward again. It's just flipped, and Corey already ratted out Cam's plan to rally this alliance to Cirie and Jared. The Fields are still getting their alliance members to give them information. They're very good at that. The one thing I do like that Corey is trying to do is work more closely with Matt. I think that is a good strategy from Corey. I think that, Corey wants to try and stay in more people's good graces than Matt, and maybe working with Matt is a way to do that. I think that could be a very interesting duo that could develop. It's just that I don't know how much Matt actually trusts Corey, which we will have to see how that plays out. But I do really like that idea from Corey. Will Corey be able to make that a thing? I don't know. We've seen his social game struggle immensely since getting into this Showmance with America. And it was already not that great before this Showmance, and now it's just even worse. Both of these Showmances aren't really even Showmances to me. They're both gross mances. You have Blue and Jared cheating on people outside of the house, and now Blue wanting to become official with Jared. She wants to be Jared's girlfriend, and Jared's not having it. I think just it's going to make both of them look bad again, so that's gross. And then Corey and America always grinding on each other under the covers. I don't even want to call it grinding. I'm going to call it gyrating, because I find the word gyrating grody, and I think that this gross mance between America and Corey and them always doing their cringy gyrating is very gross. So sick of that too. And I've continued to talk shit about America because their stands annoy me. I saw stands in in the comments again that it's not just America's fault, it's Corey's fault too. The reason I throw America under the bus so much is because nobody else wants to do that on social media. They don't want America to have to take responsibility for her own actions. And yes, Corey is a big boy. He is over the age of 20, even though he has all this virgin energy. He is over that age. He's almost 22 at the end of this month. And yes, he is responsible for his own action of getting into the Showmance and very much hurting his game by being in the Showmance. But America is still the person that has dragged them both down with her social game and telling everyone everything. Even when Corey told her not to tell anybody that they kissed, she immediately told Blue, who immediately went around telling others. It's just, this is what America always does. She talks too much. It's been a big part of her game sucking, and people could say, well, Corey shouldn't throw America under the bus so much. Well, Corey tried to help America very early in this game, over and over. But when Corey saw that the information he was giving America was getting back to him, he had no choice but to throw America under the bus. And that's because America talks too much. Lastly, let's talk about Bowie Jane a little bit, actually, for once. So I talked about how America went to Bowie last night, tried to rally her in this possible blindsiding Cirie and voting out Izzy. And then today, Jared and Cirie kind of double team Bowie to get her back in their good graces. Bowie has always been a pretty big dropped ball for Cirie, Felicia, Izzy. Jared's never wanted to drop that ball. Jared's been the main one to say that Bowie should be at the end of this game because she's someone they can beat. Yeah, Jared has the right idea with that one. But Jared and Cirie trying to, sow distrust between Cameron and Bowie and try to, Cirie making up with Bowie was a very good move. I think Cirie is trying to right some of her wrongs, and I think that's good of her. She finally admitted that voting out Heisem was the wrong decision, so at least she's finally seeing that. She's finally, recognizing a lot of her sloppiness, and dropping the ball with Bowie was another one. And I think Jared and Cirie have worked over Bowie Jane once again, because she's not really playing this game. She's worse than furniture to me. She's like the paint drying on the walls. She is definitely 100% coaster and wants to be dragged along in this game. And the thing that cracks me up is that Cam this whole week has trusted Bowie the most, of course, because they were the two left out of the vote. But has never, until today really, brought Bowie Jane in on his actual thought processes of strategy this week and what he's really thinking and what he really wants to do. And I think a lot of that is because Bowie is such a non-player that I can't really blame Cameron for not bringing her in. But at the same time now, it's kind of easier for Cirie and Jared to put that distrust into Bowie and try and bring her back on board. So last thing I saw that seemed to be working, because after a conversation with Cameron, Bowie ran to Cirie and gave her some information and said she had an epiphany that Cameron is trying to use her. So good on Cirie. They kept her tied to Felicia for 2 days. People had all this time to try and do their own thing. At least America tried, but then Cirie came back for a day and ruined everything for America, because America's groundwork just wasn't there these first several weeks of the game. And Corey and America think they have Bowie because of the conversations they've been having with her, but they just don't have the social chops to really pull her in that Jared and Cirie have. I think a lot of that is they're always so wrapped up in each other with their gross man stuff that they don't put enough time and effort into actually developing the relationships that they think they're developing, but they're really not developing. I don't think America's going to be very successful in this new alliance or getting Izzy voted out. I think she will keep trying, despite Corey wanting her not to. That gross man's of Corey and America are always on opposite pages. I've never seen a showmance work against each other this much. It's pretty ridiculous that their two games just don't match up at all. So we will see what the next 24 hours will bring, because I'm sure it will be a lot more gaming, because that's all this cast does 24/7, even if all of it is bad.